Hello, and welcome to Amplify Your Business to Amplify Your Life, where we dig deep under to unearth the golden nuggets of business wisdom, fueling not just your entrepreneurial success, but a life of passion and fulfillment. I'm your host, Odette de Beer, international business strategist, speaker, and advocate of excelling in every area of your life. Today, I have the immense pleasure of welcoming back a powerhouse in all things brand and marketing, and the mastermind behind JDC exec, Janine de Cabo. Janine, it's an honor to have you back with us again today.
Thanks, Odette. It's always great to be here and to share the principles and to help somebody else reach their purpose in business, but also in life.
Absolutely. So, to our listeners, buckle up as we embark on the enlightening journey of uncovering the secrets to flourishing in business and in life. We are going to dive into the thrilling exploration of motivation, resilience, and innovation in how we can fight the battlefield of business through when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So, Janine, tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've seen entrepreneurs experience, especially lately post COVID. We thought it was over, we're all in the clear, and it seems like we're not.
Yeah, it will always be there. That this is the fact is that there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be disappointments, and what matters is how resilient we are and how fast we can bounce back, and that's what's going to set us apart, right? Because what happens to me is happening to you. I think something I want to say right from the start, and let's say, truth be told, the only reason why we have these principles is because we've had to carve our way out of these things time and time again.
Yes.
We are not these special people. We have had to find our way through tough times, tough challenges. And we've had to build resilience. We've had to build resistance. We've had to learn how to bounce back quickly. And that's the reason why we have these principles for everybody today. That's where it comes from. It happens to everybody. You're probably going to do the same thing right now in business or maybe in life because it's applicable to both. If you can master the one, you can master the other. So this is why these principles today are valid for somebody in business or not in business.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, like you said, to acknowledge that it really doesn't matter which sphere of life you're in. We face challenges, and the challenges will keep coming. Dr. Nikki used to say, the higher the level, the greater the devil. And that's the reality in life, in business, in church, in pretty much everything, even with your kids. The further along you go, the more success you achieve, the bigger the hurdles become. And I think one of the important things is that we learn how to build in ourselves the capability and the capacity to be able to handle these things regardless of what happens and regardless of what's happening around us. From an entrepreneurial perspective, there's definitely a lot going on at the moment. In some industries, they are thriving, and the challenges they are facing is that there is not enough capacity, there is not enough hands, so they've got a skill shortage, so you've got to make do with what you've got. And equally in other industries, they're finding the economic downturn, they're finding that their clients are pulling away because the finances are a little bit tricky, or everything is becoming more expensive, or production of products and services is becoming more expensive. So from an entrepreneurial environment, and certainly from the global economic environment, things are a little bit of an uphill in general, which then flows into stuff that's happening in business, more stress on your employees because of stuff that's happening at home. And if we can master the art of managing ourselves, we can help our businesses grow, because at the end of the day, you are your best asset. So, Janine, would you share with us some of your, I would say, your top 3 or 4 strategies for getting through tough times, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, just getting through with a smile, because you always say if you don't have a smile on, you're not fully dressed. So I assume that a smile is one of them.
Yes, it absolutely is. And another one is, Odette, is you have the fire in your bones, right? And the feel in your soul. Don't let anybody tell you that you are just ordinary. I think that's very important to know. Vision is very, very important. Because vision is giving you the ability, right, to create your future in your mind. Yeah. And then we do need to take it one step further. I love what Habakkuk says is that we need to write it down, right? Absolutely. So we have to have the vision because it creates the future in our mind, but we have to write it down as well. We have to make it plain and simple. Your vision, and talking about Dr. Nikki, he says that when we have a vision, we need to be able to explain it to a 4-year-old, and that 4-year-old needs to be able to explain it again to another person, you know, another 4-year-old. Then it's plain and simple enough. So vision is very important because it helps us to see the future. Proper planning. I know there's a saying that says proper planning prevents poor performance. Mine is similar to that, but it brings progress, right? So progress along with your proper planning will lead to positive results. The point is you need to plan properly, because if you don't plan properly, then failure can come, mistakes can come, unexpected things. The reason why we plan is so that we can expect the problems, right, and get the solutions for them right from the start already. I like to say that you have to, when you're going through those tough times, you have to regroup, you have to reframe, and then you have to refocus. It's important to do those three things, because the other thing with the planning and the vision, let me just say this. When the pawpaw strikes the fan, like we like to say, we have to have a place where we can return to and say, okay, this is where I'm either starting from again, or regroup, reframe, refocus. This is what I'm doing. And a lot of people go, when they're in the midst of trouble, they forget about the vision and the planning that they did in the beginning, and they just make some all new plans. The point of the vision and the planning is to go back to that thing when times are tough, so that you can regroup, reframe, and refocus. And it's very, very important to learn new skills, because in that trial and in that season that you are in, there are new things to learn. If you learn those things, it will build confidence, because skills build confidence at the end of the day. So for me, that's very, very important. So yeah, that's some of my biggest things that I like to do. Just reframe, refocus, regroup, make sure that you've done your proper planning, and make sure that your vision is laid out.
So I love what you said about planning, but I do think there's an extra step that needs to be added to that, and that is actually taking action. I often talk about the cortex vortex. When we're in stress, when things go wrong, our brains go into stress, and then we get into a paralyzed state, because stress paralyzes you. And in that opportunity, or in that time, we have an opportunity to sit in the corner and mope to ourselves, which we sometimes love to do. And we feel sorry for ourselves. And instead of taking action, which is your way out of whatever it is you're facing, we sit there and mope. And we go down the rabbit hole of why this, why me, this is unfair, blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, we have to acknowledge that A, life is not fair, and B, you have what you take responsibility for. So the moment we take responsibility for our lives, for our business, for our teams, for our families, is when we can change things. And that's where your planning comes in place. But none of that is going to help you if you are the victim in the story. If you are the victim and life is happening to you, then you are not able to act on your plans. You are not able to make things happen because you feel like it's been done to you. But the moment you take responsibility, that's the moment where you can act in your power. That's the moment where you take, like you said, skills build confidence, but you've got to take responsibility for creating those skills. You know, it's not someone else's responsibility to do that. You've got to do it. And then, of course, taking action. It's such a simple thing, but it's such a hard thing to do when you find yourself in a really tough situation, because our emotions lie to us, right? And it's, having said that, it's important that we acknowledge when we are in a tough situation, or when we feel emotionally drained or down. It's okay to feel those things. I am by no means suggesting that you should never feel that way, because emotions are fickle and we all feel things all the time. What I am suggesting is that you don't stay there. And the way that you don't stay there is exactly what you just said. have your vision. What's your why? What is the thing that got you up in the first place to go and do that? And then if you've done the planning, it's very easy to go, okay, this is the why, this is the plan. Oh, these things went a little bit awry, but now I can work on it, because if you take a couple of steps back, so we can regroup, we can move this way, we can move that way, we can remaneuver, or maybe now is the time to shut down this plan and move to another one. But you don't discard it all just because you're now in a tough space. Janine, what do you think is the number one reason for people failing in tough times?
They don't know their passion.
Ooh.
Because if you know what your passion is, talking about fuel and fire, your passion is the fuel to your fire. And if you know what your passion is, then you'll always have fuel for the fire. A car can't drive without the fuel. Your passion can't be driven or burning on the inside of you without the fuel. And I love the word passion. Let's just stand there for a couple of seconds. Is the word passion has got the word pass in as well, right? So sometimes we are so hard on ourselves because of what we haven't done. We don't give ourselves a pass in what we already achieved.
Sure.
So passion gets fueled our passion gets fueled, but we have to understand that in that time as well, we're working hard. We need to figure out what that is, right? But we also, in some instances, need to give ourselves a pause, because you're so hard on yourself that you're actually procrastinating and not getting to the action part that you just spoke about. I'll never forget Dr. Sam Chand. I was in one of his seminars, and he said that never flog a dead horse. Talking about what you just said is like, sometimes you just got to know when to let go. Yeah. But never flog a dead horse. I mean, that is just as an important decision to stop something than what it is to carry on and push forward when that thing is already dead.
Absolutely. So for me, I think if I can share one of my secret coaching tips with our listeners, when my clients are in a vortex or when they find themselves stressed, I ask them 3 questions. These are for free, and you can do them on yourself. You can do them on your kids. You can do it on your family. You can do it on pretty much anyone, anywhere, and it works every single time. The first question you've got to ask yourself is, what do you need to acknowledge about the situation? When we acknowledge it, it's no longer a position where you're the victim. You have an opportunity to take responsibility for what's going on in your life. Once you've acknowledged whatever it is you need to acknowledge, then the next question is, what decisions do I need to make? So this comes into play with both action and the planning that Janine has spoken about. What decision do I need to take? It could be that I need to let go of this thing. It could be that I need to stop this path because it is not profitable for my business. Or it could be that I need to go do something else, or I don't know, find someone to support me, or get a coach, or get a mentor, or speak to someone. And then the final question, which is probably the hardest one to answer, is what can you let go of? And it's exactly what you just said. We are our own worst critics in every instance. And sometimes we have to let go of what we hold ourselves to account to. And by that, I don't mean that you get to not be held accountable, but sometimes we set the bar really high for ourselves. And then when we don't make it, we kind of feel like we've now failed. And the most empowering thing you can do is letting go of the guilt and letting go of the hurt that you are imposing on yourself when things are tough. So 3 questions. What do you acknowledge? What decisions can you take? And what can you let go of? And you'll find once you've verbalized, and this is not an exercise that you do in silence, so you don't whisper it to yourself. That's not going to work. You have to actually say it, because the moment you say it, you also hear it and your brain responds differently. So you have to say what you can acknowledge, what decision you can make, and what you can let go of. And if you assess yourself before asking those questions and you assess yourself afterwards, 9 times out of 10, you'll find that you've gotten yourself out of that rut, because you are now empowered. You've given your brain an opportunity to decompress and to find a way through the murky waters, so to speak. So, Janine, before we wrap up, I'd love to know from you, what do you think causes failure for businesses? You mentioned that they don't know their passion. Is there anything else that you think causes failure in these tough times?
I think people stop by pain. They stop at the pain level. And for me, if you can take that pain and you can turn that into your power, then that will obviously propel you forward.
Yes.
Right? But most of us stop at the pain. And you said it, we are going to feel it. Everybody's going to feel it. I don't want to say there's no harm in feeling it, but there's no harm in feeling it when you decide that the pain is going to be turned into power to propel you forward. We have the decision that we need to make. What is the result of your pain going to be? You can choose if it's going to paralyze you or if it's going to propel you forward. You can choose if it's going to be a thorn in your flesh, or are you going to use that thing to thrive? That is up to you. You can choose. Am I going to plan properly? Am I going to have a vision? Or am I just going to sit here? Because that's why people fail, because they don't decide to move forward in what they've got. I always say that when something bad happens, right? One of the first places I go to is, what is the lessons, because there's always more than one, that I can possibly learn out of this situation. Once I've got the lessons, then I'm like, okay, that's almost my vision.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, okay, I need to get from here to this lesson. I need to get from this pain to that power. So that's where the vision comes in. That's where the proper planning comes in. That's where the reframing comes in. Because now you reframe this pain into refocusing on where you're heading towards in the future. So if you can just take what you've got and what you're going through at the moment and turn that pain into power and forget about that paralyzed feeling that you are feeling, but rather take that and turn it into a propelling thing and use your passion. Remember, don't forget your passion, because that's the fuel that's going to get you through this.
I love that. That's awesome. So if you are in a tough spot at the moment, go back to your passion and use that pain, as Janine said, to create your power. I mean, what a banger of a show today. Quick, full of power. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next time on Amplify Your Business to Amplify Your Life.